Ryan Garcia has just called out the UFC bantamweight champion in Sean O'Malley to a fight in the UFC. Now I'm pretty sure Ryan Garcia made this call out on the MMAR, which is Ariel Helwani's show, but he's kept talking about it, as we can see here, where he said, "I'd fight Sean O'Malley in the UFC, that's it, but Dana White, you'd have to cut me the real check." And this is pretty surprising because normally these boxing guys want the MMA fighters to come over to their sport, where Ryan Garcia, it could be all talk, who knows, but is seemingly wanting to fight Sean O'Malley in MMA. Now, what I will say before I get into this hypothetical matchup is you have to give Ryan Garcia credit. This guy will fight anybody. He's fought Tank. He called out Devin Haney, who he's fighting next. He's now calling out Sean O'Malley in a different sport. So you have to respect him that way. But in terms of what would happen in this matchup, Sean O'Malley would finish Ryan Garcia inside one round, and it wouldn't be because of Sean O'Malley's grappling, which in one of the other posts Ryan Garcia says he's a natural wrestler. Now, I don't know how true that is. I don't know what level this guy wrestled at in school, high school, college, whatever you want to call it. So I don't really know how true that is. But regardless if he can wrestle or not, Sean O'Malley's going to out grapple him. But anyway, Sean O'Malley would knock out Ryan Garcia on the feet. Now, I'm not saying Sean O'Malley is a better boxer than Ryan Garcia, but boxing in general and MMA boxing, one or two completely different things. Then you add in the fact that Sean O'Malley would be allowed to throw kicks, elbows, knees. Honestly, Ryan Garcia would get KO'd inside the first round, and that is my opinion. And I don't even think Sean O'Malley would have to grapple Ryan Garcia. Now, do I think this matchup is going to happen? Absolutely not. There is no way the UFC is going to bring Ryan Garcia over to fight Sean O'Malley. Mainly because I don't think the UFC would pay the amount of money that Garcia would want to fight Sean O'Malley. So yeah, I just don't see this matchup happening whatsoever. Next story we've got to talk about is Gilbert Burns. This guy is so salty. So Gilbert Burns came out and said that the UFC got to put the best fighters, and I honestly don't think Bilal deserves to fight for the title. Gilbert Burns is just being salty because Bilal Muhammad schooled him on short notice while he was injured. I don't get what Gilbert Burns means by this. I mean, Bilal Muhammad is quite clearly the number one contender in the welterweight division. I don't even think you can argue Shavkat Rakhmonov is over him. It really doesn't make sense. Since that Leon Edwards no contest, I believe Bilal Muhammad has went on to beat Stephen Thompson. He finished Sean Brady, the first guy to beat Sean Brady in MMA. He then beat Vicente Luque. He's also beat... who else has he beat? Anyway, I'm missing one more name, and Gilbert Burns. I think there is one more person Bilal Muhammad has beaten, but yeah, Bilal Muhammad has to fight for the UFC welterweight title next. Now, Colin Bourne, etc. People might not want to see this matchup, but the guy has earned his title shot, and if you don't give Bilal Muhammad the title shot next, then the UFC rankings really are meaningless and pointless, and they might as well just get rid of them, because at that point it's a joke. The guy has quite clearly earned his shot at Leon Edwards. Whether you want to see him fight for the belt or not, it is deserved. I don't know what Gilbert Burns is on about. I mean, he actually got schooled for 25 minutes against the guy who took a fight on short notice against him. And before anybody says, oh, but Gilbert Burns was injured, Burns got injured in the matchup. Bilal Muhammad went into the matchup injured. That is the difference. Gilbert Burns, give the guy a box of tissues to dry his tears. Next, and the final story I want to talk about, which is probably the biggest one to come out this week, is so far, is Israel Adesanya said on the Theo Von podcast that the UFC did call on him to fight at UFC 300, and that Dricus du Plessis declined. Now, Dricus du Plessis has just fought Sean Strickland at UFC 297, which was an absolute war, 5-round war. The amount of damage Dricus du Plessis took in that matchup, of course he was never ever going to be ready to fight at UFC 300. Now, this wouldn't be the first time the UFC has tried to do this in Dricus du Plessis. They did try to do this after the Whittaker matchup where he was injured, and they tried to get him a really quick turnaround to fight Israel Adesanya. So again, even though he's lost to Sean Strickland and he isn't on a hot streak right now, it seems to be Israel Adesanya is still getting that Dana White treatment. But no, I completely agree with Dricus du Plessis, what he's done here. I mean, this guy has worked extremely hard to get to this position. He has now won the belt. Why would he then throw it all away to fight at UFC 300? Also, I know I said this would make sense for UFC 300, but the more I think about this matchup, this has to be the UFC's first, I don't know if it's the UFC's first card, but This has to be now on to the UFC to make UFC Africa. They have to do it now. It's not on 300. You've got plenty of time now. Make this fight UFC Africa's headliner. Bring it to, I don't know where the biggest stadium is in Africa. I assume South Africa is probably where it would take place. I think, I'm not too sure though. I am repping the Nigeria top though, so could be held there. I don't really know. But regardless, this is the perfect time to do it now if you are the UFC. Make UFC Africa happen. I don't think Dricus du Plessis is ducking Israel Adesanya. He's called out Israel Adesanya for quite some time now. What Dricus du Plessis has done, in my opinion, is the correct thing. Give himself time to heal and give him his best shot at beating Israel Adesanya, which I think he does have a good chance of beating Israel Adesanya. But if you have to ask me right now who I'm going to pick to win, I am backing Israel Adesanya. But yeah, Dricus du Plessis is not scared. Also, Dricus du Plessis did make it clear that the belt means more to him than fighting on UFC 300. So now that he's the champion, Israel Adesanya kind of has to do what Dricus du Plessis decides because he is the one holding the belt. So yeah, those are the three stories I wanted to cover this week. Can Ryan Garcia beat Sean O'Malley in MMA? Does Bilal Muhammad deserve the next title shot at Leon Edwards? And did Dricus du Plessis duck Israel Adesanya? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Social medias are linked at the top of the screen. And I will see you again in the next one.